Episode 8, Pumpkin Spice and Kindness. The cottage was wrapped in a soft blanket of October light, the golden glow of late afternoon casting long shadows across the wooden floors. Ella stood in the kitchen, her sweater sleeves rolled up as she prepared to spend the afternoon crafting something special. The air outside was crisp, with the scent of damp leaves and wood smoke drifting through the open window. Mabel lay curled up in her usual spot by the fire, while Rufus, ever alert, watched from his place at Ella's feet, his tail gently thumping against the floor. Today was one of those days that felt perfect for slowing down, for savoring the small, beautiful rituals that autumn brought. Ella had decided to make something simple yet thoughtful: homemade pumpkin spice syrup. It was the kind of treat she knew her friends and family would love, especially as the cooler months approached. The syrup, rich with the warmth of cinnamon, nutmeg, and cloves, would be perfect drizzled over pancakes or swirled into a cup of coffee. And in her mind, nothing said fall quite like the taste of pumpkin spice. Ella reached for her ingredients, moving through the kitchen with a sense of calm purpose. She gathered pumpkin puree, brown sugar, cinnamon sticks, and cloves, setting them out on the counter alongside a small jar of nutmeg. The scent of spices began to fill the air, wrapping the room in a comforting warmth. She measured out the ingredients with care, pouring the pumpkin puree into a saucepan with water, then adding brown sugar and a few cinnamon sticks. As she stirred, the mixture slowly began to bubble, its rich, earthy scent rising into the air. Rufus shifted slightly, as if even he couldn't resist the cozy aromas now filling the air. Ella smiled to herself, watching as the mixture thickened, its color deepening into a rich golden orange. She reached for a jar of ground nutmeg, adding just a pinch, then sprinkled in a few whole cloves for extra warmth. The spices blended together perfectly, creating a syrup that tasted like autumn in every drop. As the syrup simmered, Ella reached for mason jars she had set aside earlier in the week, small glass jars with smooth, curved edges that caught the light in the most beautiful way. Each jar had been carefully cleaned and polished, ready to be filled with the sweet syrup. Ella had already chosen the ribbon and paper she would use to wrap her jars, a simple cream-colored paper with a soft rustic texture and a roll of deep burgundy ribbon that reminded her of the changing leaves outside. She poured the syrup through the fine strainer into a large pitcher, watching the thick golden liquid flow smoothly, leaving whole spices behind. The kitchen smelled heavenly now, like a blend of pumpkin pie and the warmth of a coffee shop on a cool autumn morning. Ella filled each mason jar carefully, her hands steady as she poured the syrup, making sure each jar was filled to just the right level. The glass jars, now filled with the rich orange syrup, gleamed softly in the afternoon light. As she sealed the jars, Ella felt quite a sense of satisfaction. There was something deeply fulfilling about making something by hand, knowing that it would bring warmth and happiness to the people she cared about. She tied each jar with a length of burgundy ribbon, securing it with a simple knot and tucking a sprig of dried lavender beneath the bow. The jars looked beautiful, like little gifts wrapped in autumn itself. Ella sat down at the kitchen table, her work finished for the moment. She admired the row of jars in front of her, each one a small token of kindness she would soon share with her loved ones. Mabel stirred from her nap, stretching luxuriously before hopping down from the window seat to join Ella at the table. Rufus, always aware of Ella's mood, wagged his tail and rested his head on her knee. Tomorrow, she would deliver the jars to her friends and family, but tonight, she would savor the quiet of the cottage, the warmth of the kitchen, and the satisfaction of a job well done. The soft crackle of the fire mixed with the scent of pumpkin spice lingered in the air, creating a cozy atmosphere that made Ella feel perfectly at home in this moment. She reached for one of the jars and poured a little syrup into her coffee, stirring it slowly. The rich aroma of spices swirled up toward her, and as she took her first sip, she couldn't help but smile. The syrup was perfect, sweet with just the right amount of warmth, from the cinnamon and cloves. It tasted like autumn in a cup. Outside, the last of daylight was beginning to fade, the sky painted in soft shades of pink and lavender. Ella wrapped her hands around her mug, savoring the warmth, the quiet, and the knowledge that tomorrow she would share a little bit of this autumn magic with the people she loved most. Ella had always loved these little rituals, the quiet preparation, the feeling of creating something with her own hands, and the joy of sharing it with others. As she gazed out at the row of beautifully wrapped jars, she felt, as always, that life's greatest joys were in the simple, thoughtful moments. Ella's pumpkin spice syrup recipe. 1 cup pumpkin puree, 1 1/4 cups of water, 1 1/4 cups of brown sugar, 2 cinnamon sticks, half a teaspoon of ground nutmeg, 5 to 6 whole cloves, 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract, which is optional. In a medium saucepan, combine the pumpkin puree, water, brown sugar, cinnamon sticks, and nutmeg and cloves. Bring the mixture to simmer over medium heat, stirring occasionally. Once it begins to simmer, reduce the heat to low and let the syrup cook for about 15 to 20 minutes, stirring occasionally until it thickens slightly. Remove the syrup from the heat and strain it through a fine mesh strainer to remove the spices. Stir in the vanilla extract if using, and let the syrup cool before transferring it to jars. Store the syrup in the fridge for up to 2 weeks and enjoy it in coffee, over pancakes, or drizzled on desserts. Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe for more short stories with Ava Z Bienvi.